Hi, I'm Jacob Hornberger, Libertarian candidate for president. And I'm down here in Dallas, Texas for the Christmas holidays to spend the holidays with family members. And I'm taking a walk around here, the streets of Dallas, and I was thinking about the LP presidential campaign. And so I thought I'd share some thoughts with you, specifically on the issue of immigration, which is, of course, as y'all know, one of the burning issues of this campaign. Both the general campaign as well as the campaign for the Libertarian Party presidential nomination. And I want to focus primarily on a crass political point. Okay, this is a political campaign, so I figured, well, there's nothing wrong with talking about a straight political point, and that's the matter of voting. And obviously there's other aspects to this issue. There's the moral aspect and the freedom aspect, the ethical aspect, the economic aspect to the immigration controversy, but I want to focus on the issue of votes. The proponents of immigration controls within the Libertarian Party say that this is a big asset, that the candidates that favor America's system of immigration controls have a big asset because most people in America support America's system of immigration controls. So their logic is that because most people do favor this kind of system, this means the Libertarian Party presidential candidate can garner many more votes than the advocate of open borders. And of course, as y'all know, I'm sure know by now, I am the only advocate in this race of open borders. All of my opponents favor, in one form or another, America's system of immigration controls. Now, there's variations. There's some more moderate ones that say, well, they're going to simplify the system and streamline the system and let in more immigrants. And of course, the operative word is let. You know, let is not freedom. You got to ask for permission from the government. That's not freedom. That's the opposite of freedom. But they think they're going to fix the system. After 80 years, they're going to come up with the plan that's finally going to make this thing work. It's a pipe dream. It's a fantasy. This is an inherently defective system, as I've pointed out for 40 years or so, that you cannot fix something that is inherently defective. And this is unfortunately what advocates of immigration control still don't realize. But then you've got the more ferocious advocates of liberty as you move up the spectrum, and inside the Libertarian Party, they're essentially on the same page as Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. I mean, they want to seal the border, and they want to finish Trump's Berlin Wall, and they want that police state down there. They might want to shift the military down there. And so you've got this range, but they all feel like this position, regardless of where they land on the spectrum, is an asset because so many people in America support a system of immigration controls and oppose the idea of genuine open borders. And genuine open borders means that you've got the eradication of the Border Patrol, the Immigration Service, all restrictions on the free movements of goods, services, and people across borders. That's a system I favor. All right, well now, are these proponents of immigration controls correct when they make this political point about votes? Well, we don't see it historically. I mean, if we go back, let's say, 3 years ago to the presidential race, the Libertarian Party presidential candidate favored immigration reform, and she ended up getting 1.1%. 98.9% of the American people said, no, we're not voting for you. And then just a year ago, Mike Tremont, who's running for the LP presidential nomination right now, he took his message, which included reforming immigration, America's immigration system. He took his message to the voters in the 20th Congressional District in Florida. He got less than 1%. It was like over 99% said, no, we're not voting for you. And then Chase Oliver, who's also seeking the LP presidential nomination, he ran for Congress about a year ago in the state of Georgia. And he took his message. He got $20 to $30 million, I estimate. I mean, I don't know the exact amount, but he got an unbelievable amount of free publicity. I think he got more publicity than any other Libertarian Party candidate in history, including the presidential candidates. And so he got his message out, and part of his message was that he's going to reform the immigration system. He's going to simplify it. He's going to make it work. And he was in the debate with the incumbent U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock, Democrat. And in that debate, Chase delivered his message to the people of Georgia. He says, I'm in favor of reforming this immigration control system. 98% of the voters said, no, we're going to vote against you. He got 2%. And now we've got these two Wall Street Journal polls that pretty much seal the deal now for the 2024 election for the LP presidential candidate, assuming we run the same kind of candidate, an immigration control advocate, Republican light, reform-oriented, reform the educational system, reform Social Security, reform Medicare, reform socialism, reform immigration, and so forth. The Wall Street Journal poll, one came out in September, one came out in December. They actually asked people specifically about the Libertarian Party candidate, and 1%. Both times. The second one confirmed the first one, 1%. So we already know the results of the 2024 election. I mean, if things haven't changed over the last 3 years, they're not going to change over the next 10 months or so, unless we change directions. And this is what I've been calling on the party to do since these debates started in this party, that we need to change directions dramatically toward a restoration of the founding principles of this party, including open borders, and running a presidential campaign that is based 100% on genuine, true libertarian principles. Now, why is this, though? Why is it that the Libertarian Party presidential candidate who supports immigration controls cannot garner a large number of votes? This is where the proponents of immigration controls inside the party have failed to do some examination. They just say, oh, well, most people favor immigration controls. That means more votes for the immigration control advocate, who's the LP presidential candidate. They just do it. It's a straight kind of superficial application of logic. But if we look at this, we can understand why we get this phenomenon of this 98 to 99% rejection rate of American voters. When we consider the proponents of immigration controls, the right-wingers outside the party, okay, there's no question that the right-wing oriented members of the Libertarian Party that favor immigration controls would vote for the LP presidential candidate who supports immigration controls. No question about that, but that's not very many votes. We're talking about people outside the party, right-wingers, who favor immigration controls. Who are they going to vote for? They're all going to vote for Trump, if Trump's the nominee, which is likely at this point. But even if it's DeSantis or Haley or Ramaswamy, doesn't matter. 0 of them are going to vote for the LP presidential candidate. None of them. So the LP presidential candidate that holds this position of immigration controls, that's not an asset. That's a liability. Because every single one outside the party of the right-wingers are going to vote for Trump. Let's assume that Trump's the nominee. And if he makes DeSantis his vice presidential candidate, which is always a possibility, it's over. I mean, it's done. Every single right-wing advocate. And here's what Trump's going to be saying. We need every vote. We got to stop the steal again. See, he's going to be saying they're going to be trying to steal the election again. We can't let them do that. We've got to flood the ballot box with every single vote we can. You cannot afford to waste your vote on some third-party candidate or independent candidate. I need every vote. So every right-winger is going to go for Trump. The Libertarian Party candidate who supports immigration controls is going to get 0 votes. 0 votes from the right-wing proponents of immigration controls outside the party. Now, the Democrats also favor this system, which is kind of interesting. I mean, the advocates of immigration control within our party, they want us to move to adopt this different position permanently as part of the Libertarian Party's platform and set of principles. And so they want all 3 parties to be on the same page, which would be a disaster. I mean, we stand for liberty in this party. The Republican Party doesn't. They mouth the little mantras of liberty, but they don't stand for genuine liberty like we have in this party since 1971 when it was founded. And but if you take the Democratic proponents of immigration controls, they're not going to vote for the Libertarian either who favors immigration controls. I mean, My opponents favor, in this nomination, favor, for example, school vouchers or taking over the public schools and having libertarians run this socialist system and so forth. That's anathema to Democrats. They're never going to vote for a Libertarian Party presidential candidate. And the fact is that Libertarian presidential candidates for the last 20, 25 years have oriented Republican and adopted, Republican reform measures, Republican light measures. And so you can't count on any Democrat votes to vote for a Libertarian Party presidential candidate who favors immigration control. So again, 0 votes. Now here's another factor. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. It's a virtual certainty he's going to get on the ballot in all 50 states. From what it looks like now, it looks like the Libertarian Party is only going to hit 47 states at most, maybe even less. But Kennedy looks like he's going to get on all the ballots in all 50 states. This guy is as ferocious a proponent of immigration controls as Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. He's already said that if he's elected president, he's going to seal the border. Undoubtedly he's going to complete Trump's Berlin Wall, just like Biden wants to do. And so we're also talking about the militarization of the border, because their police state obviously hasn't worked to stem the tide on illegal immigration. So Kennedy, whoever has doubts about supporting Trump, they have Kennedy to vote for. And Kennedy's got a shot to win. So they're not about to waste their vote on the Libertarian Party presidential candidate. So that means, once again, 0 votes for the Libertarian Party presidential candidate who favors immigration controls based on that particular issue. Not so with open borders. It's a completely different case. And I've been arguing for 40 years or so that our libertarian principles are our greatest asset, not only in terms of freedom and morality and so forth, but also with respect to votes. I keep saying these are our weapons. These are our assets. This is who we are. We got to be true to ourselves. And one of these is open borders. There's a lot of people out there, big block of people, who know that something is wrong with this immigration system. They know it. They just don't know what the solution is. But they see the deaths. They see people dying in the backs of tractor trailers, dying of thirst in the deserts crossing the American Southwest. They die of drowning in the Rio Grande. They're getting severely injured, falling off of Trump's wall. I don't know if any have died yet, but the press is reporting severe injuries. So people see this, and they see the police state, the highway checkpoints and so forth, and they know that this is not a good system. They just don't know what the alternative. They don't know that there's an alternative. So they buy into this notion of, maybe there's a way to fix this system. But if they were to hear the genuine case, the competent case for open borders, the economic case, the freedom case, the moral case, the religion case, the ethical case, they would leap. They would leap in support of our candidate. And because now they would have a viable alternative, a viable solution to this 80-year-old crisis, ongoing crisis. And these people would not leave us. We wouldn't have to worry about Kennedy taking away our block of voters or Trump taking away our block of voters, because they would be coming to us because we have this moral, economic freedom position. And that's why I'm saying that this position of open borders, to which I adhere, unlike my opponents, is the asset. They have the albatross around their neck of immigration controls. They're stuck with that position, and it is an albatross. It's a liability. It cannot garner votes. I've got the position that can achieve the major breakout that we want. I mean, when you're if you're happy with the 1%, that's fine, okay? You can go with any of the 5 or anybody else that jumps into the race. It's reform-oriented, Republican light. You can go with them and get your 1%. But then you also have to put up with the standard mocking, the ridicule. You libertarians will never be a factor in politics. You're just irrelevant and so forth. Well, if we were to achieve a breakout of, say, 10 to 15%, which I contend is entirely possible, employing our weapons, our assets, our principles, including open borders, those people shut up real fast. And that's what we do. We move this party in a completely different direction. This is what I'm asking everybody to do. Do some real soul searching here about where we are as a party, where we are as a people, where we are as a country, and how do we get out of the statist morass. And I'm saying there's only one way out, and that's libertarian principles, genuine principles, the principles I'm enunciating in this campaign. And that you cannot do that with a reform-oriented Republican light message. Impossible. You have to be true to yourself and true to your party, true to your party's principles. And that's how we achieve this breakout of 10 to 15% of the national vote. But most important, this is how we lead America to freedom, with our principles. And that's our job as libertarians, to lead America to freedom. I'm Jacob Hornberger, Libertarian candidate for president. My campaign website is jacobforliberty.com. And a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you.